Money FM 89.3. Best of breakfast. Morning Shot.
Welcome to Morning Shot. TikTok has been in the spotlight in recent weeks. So just days ago, U.S. President Donald Trump revealed that Microsoft is currently in discussions to acquire TikTok and that he would like to see a bidding war over the sale of the social media app. This comes as Trump signed an executive order to delay a Biden administration ban on TikTok that briefly took the app offline for some 170 million users in the U.S. Now, for years, both Trump and his predecessor Joe Biden have been trying to force TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance to sell its U.S. operations on national security grounds. So will TikTok's gamble pay off as America's biggest firms eyeball a deal? And will we see a bidding war play out? For more insights, we're joined by Bhagyashree Garekar, U.S. Bureau Chief at the Straits Times. Bhagya, welcome to The Breakfast Show. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. It's evening here, but good morning to you.
Yes, good evening over there in your neck of the woods. Always great to chat with you, Bhagya. Now, TikTok's journey has been quite a roller coaster. It was accused of spying for China and being a national security threat, and now a hot commodity among major American firms. What do you make of this huge, dramatic turnaround in the past few weeks?
You know, it's been dramatic. So, like you say, I think it tells us two things. Firstly, it's a great social media product, right? It's succeeding so much in America. People love it. It's got, I think you said 170 million users, and that's almost half the U.S. population. And we know that Trump and other Republicans have huge followings there. So that was the leverage TikTok had, and its Singaporean CEO actually used it very well to get past this law that called for its ban. You know, it went dark on January 19th, which was the day when the law was to take effect, and it would have stayed dark. But Trump intervened. As you know, you were talking about the executive order that gave it a lifeline. So I think the second thing we can take away from this is that Trump is powerful. And of course, he's putting the power of his presidency on this issue. He's taken a personal interest in it. But one thing, you know, this is a hot issue, but, you know, it's the other app which is upstaging TikTok at the moment. And, of course, we're speaking about DeepSeek, right, the sensational AI app. And then, of course, the other thing is trade war, and I think I heard you talk about that as well. So TikTok is being talked about, but it is quiet, I would say. And maybe that suits TikTok because, you know, it can check out its suitors in some peace and quiet.
Yeah. Well, even beyond the quiet, though, we know that TikTok initially chose to go dark rather than sell to a U.S. buyer. So what terms do you think TikTok or even China would need to see before it okays and agrees to a sale?
I wish I knew. That's $1 billion question, right? Or maybe even $50 billion questions or $20 billion. It depends on how you value TikTok. I think that it's not been entirely clear. Some people even say $100 billion, and then the share of ByteDance in that could be, I don't know, 20 billion or more. But what are China's terms? They haven't said. They've basically been quiet. You can speculate that China may want something in return for okaying, the export of the algorithm, which makes TikTok tick, so to speak, so which makes TikTok so addictive. Yeah. So if China says okay for that to go ahead, and I'm not sure that it will because it's considered a strategic technology for China. So if it does go ahead and no sale is worth if the algorithm is not part of that sale. So let's assume that does go through. What does China want in return? I suppose China would want a broad improvement in relations with the U.S. because especially now when the Chinese economy is facing so many challenges. So in a broad way, I think that is what it might seek. Right now, this week, a couple of days from now, you will have the 10% tariffs that Trump has just imposed on China, on imports coming in China. So could that be a part of, whatever as the deal goes through for TikTok? I think it's 75 days it has to explore a deal, find a buyer, an American buyer. And I think so the clock is ticking down to that. So 2 months down for that.
Yeah.
So, and let's see what else comes up.
Yeah, so tit for tat for TikTok then. Trump has suggested that we would see a full-blown bidding war for TikTok. What's your take on this? Do you think that's a real possibility here?
It might be. I mean, we have at least 2 or 3 buyers. You were mentioning Microsoft, I think. But there's a couple of other bids as well. There's Mr. Beast, that YouTube guy.
Yes.
Jimmy Donaldson. Yeah, he's got, I think, some 340 million users in YouTube. And he's got at least 150 million or so on TikTok. So he's been announcing dramatically that he's put a bid for it. And you've got the Shark Tank guy who's part of another bid. And this rival bid comes from a billionaire who used to own, the Los Angeles Dodgers, which is a top baseball team. And so there's this group under Project Liberty, which is one of the buyers who's formally made a bid. Steve Mnuchin, who was talked about earlier, the ex-Treasury Secretary under Trump's first term, he's also part of a bid. Oracle's been mentioned. Oh, Musk. So we must not skip mentioning Musk, although Musk is interesting because he has not officially said anything on this, although Trump sort of gave him an opening. Trump said he would be open to Musk buying it. Elon Musk, of course, has his own social media platform, X. So where does he stand? Musk is, 2 interesting things about this. Musk says that he's, first of all, against any ban, on principle, against any ban on free speech, any ban on any app, TikTok included. But the second thing, he also made this clear just I think was it last week or earlier, that, that the situation is unbalanced, that Musk's X doesn't have entry in China, whereas, TikTok is here. So, but then he has not openly said anything about the deal. There could be a bidding war, but what's the money on offer? We heard $20 billion. I think that was the Shark Tank guy said, I'm giving you $20 billion in cash for the stake, for ByteDance's stake. But again, we don't know, right? Everything is behind the scenes for now.
Yeah, everything is behind the scenes for now, but it does seem like there is growing interest and people want to get in on the game here. And Trump's executive order delaying the TikTok ban really seems to have changed the game entirely for TikTok. How do you see this shaping the future of the app in the U.S.?
Well, it entirely hinges on this deal, right? Because if it doesn't go forward, then there is no future.
Right.
Because the law has already been passed to ban it, right? And if there is no American buyer, for whatever reasons, China doesn't okay the deal, they just don't come up to some agreement, then I guess TikTok is out. And I think there was one trend of people migrating to another Chinese app, Red Note, right? So there was that. There's always going to be scope for a big social media app. And I think American apps themselves, Facebook for one, would love it if people came to its platform instead. So there's always going to be something out there, but then it really is not very clear to me, at least, what lies ahead for TikTok. That's a very difficult question.
Yeah. So let's not forget the core of this. National security has been at the heart of Washington's concerns over TikTok for years now. Is that still a big concern in this current situation with the bidding war or the possible bidding war? And do you think that the U.S. government is more focused on privacy risks maybe, or are there deeper geopolitical motives at play?
Actually, all of those things are true. So national security was the official reason to ban it. And privacy is a factor for sure. So one concern that was widely shared is that, through this app, the Chinese government can, for instance, access data about American users, right? Sensitive data that could be their browsing history, their personal data, their location, and so on, which could be misused. That was one fear that was raised and continues to be sort of salient. And then that China could potentially use TikTok to spread disinformation, or it could push the kind of narratives that are, advantageous to China. And so it can influence American public opinion and politics. And in this mix, I think geopolitical concerns are right there. So China can supposedly influence how Americans think about issues. And we saw that come up during the Israel-Palestine issue, right? That they were saying that TikTok is basically giving a lot more play to the Palestinian part of the story rather than the Israeli one. So that kind of thing is, it's there, it exists.
Okay. And Bhagya, before you go, we know that a lot is still unknown, and we still have about 75 days before this delay of the ban ends. So if a deal does go through, could this possibly help ease tensions, maybe restore friendlier ties between the U.S. and China, or at least maybe prevent future crackdowns on other Chinese tech firms?
Well, if it did go through, I can imagine a situation where it goes through and Trump sort of takes credit for saving TikTok, right? So he remains popular among a large section of his followers and voters. And that could be a feel-good moment, right? But then China-U.S. ties are so wide, so deep, so contested, that there is so much more to the relationship. And we were talking about DeepSeek, right? So that raised all kinds of issues in the AI race, where are they? Who's winning this race? And then there is fentanyl, which is the center of discussion right now. It's the drug which comes in through U.S. borders. And what the Trump administration says is that it's produced in labs made from and is made from precursors, chemicals that come from China. And this is a drug that's causing maybe up to 300 Americans to die in a day. And then there's the military. They compete on everything in the Navy, in the Navy, which is so critical to, our region, but they also compete on nearly everything that you can think about. So no, I do not think that this is going to lead to any big thaw as such, even if a deal were to go through. It'll have its moment, but they are adversaries, and I don't think this deal is going to make a very critical difference to that.
All right. Well, that was a good look into the complex relationship between the U.S. and China and the very latest on TikTok's high-stakes battle in the United States. All eyes are on how this will unfold. Bhagya, thanks as always for your time and your insights today.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've been speaking with Bhagyashree Garekar, U.S. Bureau Chief at the Straits Times. Stay ahead with Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.